global flood, or is it local?
I'll say this: it definitely was not global. So I would say that either it's local or it never happened in the first place.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I had two different questions depending on what your answer was. That one suffices. That the first question wouldn't matter to you. So that's fine. So my question to you will be, how do you justify? Because you mentioned that you thought that the Matthew, Luke, John are written by those people. How do you justify the fact that it's pretty obvious to someone like myself that Matthew and Luke did the birth story for symbolic reasons? They wanted to compare Jesus to both King David and to Moses in their different stories, which is obvious that one or both aren't true due to the time controversy and contradiction that happens, because Matthew attributes Jesus' birth to happening during the time of King Herod the Great, who died in 4 BCE. However, Luke attributes the birth as occurring during the governorship of Quirinius, who did not take his position until 6 CE, 10 years later. Obviously, both can't happen at the same time. What is your position there?
All right. Well, with regards to the genealogies, I would say that there definitely are so-called symbolic. Within academia, we just use the term redactional. There are obvious redactional emphases by Matthew, who was trying to connect Jesus to David, as both he and Luke do the same thing. But I think that Matthew was trying to record Jesus' legal descent, and Luke was trying to record Jesus' biological descent, because Luke is more of a Greco-Roman history book, and Matthew is not. It's not totally intended for history like Luke is. Now, in regards to the birth narratives about Matthew placing Jesus' birth during the time of Herod the Great, and Luke placing Jesus' birth in the time of Quirinius, there are two possible solutions that really appeal to me. The first one is the idea that Quirinius was governor because around the time of Herod the Great, Quirinius was running military expeditions near Syria, and when this happened, if they were running military expeditions in another province, there would be shared leadership between it and the local governors. And the term for governor in Luke's infancy narratives is hegemon, and this is a very, very ambiguous term. It doesn't necessarily mean governor. So that's the first solution. The second solution is that Matthew is not talking about Herod the Great, because Matthew does not clearly say Herod the Great. He just says Herod. And there was another Herod after Herod the Great, named Herod Antipas. And Matthew might be talking about Herod Antipas and not Herod the Great.
Actually, no. The Matthew clearly states that Herod had I'm thinking predecessor, and I'm going the other direction. His successor. There we go. His successor was Antipas. He clearly mentions that. So he's obviously talking about Herod the Great. So that one's out the window. Every scholar I've ever read clearly acknowledges that it's Herod the Great, which is why the majority of your scholars date it as 4 BC, because it creates the easiest. The other thing that you said about Quirinius and the possible dual governorships and the possible governor doesn't mean governor and all that also falls apart, because if you say that it meant anything else, then you totally remove any purpose to mention his name. You wouldn't say, well, I'll use this because it's fresh in my mind. Farrah Fawcett died back when Sonny Perdue was governor of Georgia. It's irrelevant. It doesn't have anything to do with the two. But if you were to say that um, Barack Obama became president whenever George Bush wasn't, would be the equivalent of what you're saying. It doesn't really fit. The reason it mentions that there was a census done at the time of him being governor, meaning he was in control, taking the issue. It wasn't about shared. They wouldn't mention his name. They would either mention both names or mention whoever was over both of them. It really doesn't fit to me, so I don't find that necessarily satisfactory. But I do at least appreciate the fact that you're open to consideration of different things. But anyway, I'll shut up there.
Well, I'll just say for
Thanks,
right
Ken.
now
Did
that...
you want to respond to that, Meg?
Yeah, I'll just say right now that that was a very, very interesting point that I personally have not heard before, and so I'll just say I have to do more research before I make an informed judgment on that. But the next thing I want to say is that even if Luke and Matthew are really contradictory, it's more or less inconsequential.
Okay then, Meg, is it your turn to pick someone or is it mine? I forget now. I thought it was mine, but then I realized I looked at the doc and
I really lost track.
I actually want to ask it.
I'm right now.
How about right now? I'll make a concession. Look, if I want to. Whoever wants to ask a question, go ahead, but only atheists in reference to me, because we've had like a couple questions in a row that were all to Mig, and I want to be fair. And if you know my channel, I never mind having my feet held to the fire. So, who has a question that is not pro-theism? No, that is not pro-atheism. I mean. Anyone? Question? Wait, Meg wants to leave. Meg, if you could wait for 2 more questions, I'd appreciate it. Can you do that? Okay, Rabbit, if you can leave and let someone YHWH go in. Anyone else that goes in can get kicked. Don't complain. And after that, I'll let you pick the last question. Yes.
What's up, guys?
Just call me someone Yahweh. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, just someone Yahweh. Okay. Someone Yahweh, you get to ask a question to whomever you'd like. And Meg, you get to pick one more question. King, you get to stay on dock the entire time. And Meg, I guess you're tired. You don't want to join the discussion later. That's fine. As soon as the Q&A is over, look for the room post-debate. I'll be in there for the night. I even took off 2.5 hours of work early tomorrow so I can stay up late. Go ahead, someone, and then maybe you get to pick one more person.
Alright, I'm going to have a question for both of you guys, but first I'm going to start with you, Honest. Alright, my question is, are you a physicalist or a dualist? That's first.
I will. Well, sorry, I forgot to turn my mic off again. I'm sorry. My belief is in monism. In that, I don't think we have a soul. I wish we did. I can tell you that. Please mute your mic if you could, someone. So, Meg is asking if I'm a physicalist. As far as I know, there's dualism and there's monism. So, I understand the difference between those two. So, what's the difference between dualism and a physicalist? Okay, it's a type of monism.
Well, there's different types, but yeah, it is.
If you could, I've never heard of physicalism necessarily, so I think I know what it means based on the origin of the word, but if you could go into a little bit more detail.
Okay, like how do you reconcile, because physicalism kind of leads to determinism, and we're kind of arguing right now. And if that's the case, then or there's no free will involved if we just boil down to matter, because matter has prior causes and it's influenced by